Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to episode 2 of our city Romsey. Today we are going to continue building and start working on a new district. But this will not be just a simple block with buildings placed next to each other. I want this area to feel more detailed, more alive, and more realistic. We are going to add small urban details, little props, textures, corners, and all those small things that make a place feel lived in. I know this episode was long awaited, and yes, there was a technical issue with it. I will explain what happened a little later in this video. But for now, my friends, let's not waste time. Let's continue building our city. Let's continue working on Romsey. In episode 1, we finished by laying out the main route for our city. Now it is time to move forward and start building the first real district of Romsey. Now we are going to clear this area. I'm removing all the original vanilla buildings that were placed here at the beginning. For this district, I want to rebuild everything from scratch and have more control over the layout. First, we clean up the block. Then I'll adjust the road a little bit, because this part needs a better shape for the buildings we are going to place next. Now we are going to create a small alley, but I do not want to make it perfectly straight. Let's give it a slight curve just to make this part of the block feel a little more interesting. Also, we need to clean up the road settings here. I do not want extra intersections, traffic lights, or crosswalks creating problems in such a small spot. So I'm using the road tools to remove the left turns. Then I'll remove the traffic lights and the crosswalks as well. That should keep this alley simple and help the traffic move through without getting messy. We can start placing the buildings. For this area, I'm going to look mostly through the Northeast Region Pack and the Southwest Region Pack. These buildings have a very American look, and that fits the direction I want for Romsey. I want this city to feel like it could exist somewhere in the United States. And honestly, the main inspiration here is probably Boston. Boston is one of the oldest major cities in America, and it has a really interesting mix of architecture. It started with strong English colonial roots, but over time, the city collected different styles and different influences. You can see older brick buildings, narrow streets, Georgian and federal-style architecture, and later, American city layers all mixed together. That is what makes Boston so interesting to me. It does not feel like one perfect planned city. It feels like a place that changed over time. So with Romsey, I want to create something similar. Not a copy of Boston, of course, but a city with that same feeling of history, variety, and older American character. I think many of you already know the Move It mod and how to use it. But if you do not, let me explain it really quickly. Move It allows us to select and move almost any object in the game. Buildings, roads, props, trees, decals, and a lot of other things can be adjusted much more freely. It is one of those mods that gives you way more control when you are detailing a city. We also have Anarchy. Anarchy lets us place objects in places where the game normally would not allow it. So together, Move It and Anarchy are extremely useful when you want to build with more freedom and create something more custom. Later, I will share my full list of assets and mods, so you can see exactly what I use for Romsey. And maybe you can use that list as a starting point for your own city too. Right now, I'm thinking about what we can do with this corner. I want to make it a little more interesting, not just leave it as an empty space. So I'm going to try a few different things here. I'll place some buildings, look at how they fit, delete them if they do not work, and then try something else. And honestly, you can do the same thing in your own city. If you do not like it, delete it. Try another building. If that does not work either, delete it again and keep testing. That is kind of the whole point of this game. You can experiment as much as you want. You can take an idea from your head and turn it into something real on the map. And that is exactly what I love about city building. You get an idea, you try it, you change it, and little by little the city starts to become yours. To make this district more attractive, I'm going to add a few small parks. Nothing too huge or dramatic, just little green spaces between the buildings. These small parks help the area look better, and they also make the neighborhood more pleasant for the people who live here. Even a tiny park can change the feeling of the whole block. Now we're going to use some decals to add more realism. To give this area a better surface finish, I'm using a tile texture here. I'm also adding some concrete in the back, so it feels more like a service yard behind the shops. Small surface details like this make a big difference. They help the space feel more finished and give the whole block a lot more character. Yeah, now this definitely looks much better. Oh, a little spoiler. Yes, those are going to be the next districts. But do not pay attention to them for now. Let's keep going. If we open the Parks tab, you can see that we have a collection of park props. And from here, we can choose whatever we like. Again, this is a good place to experiment. Maybe you want to add a fountain, maybe a statue, maybe a food truck, some benches, tables, lights, or anything else that fits your idea. You can use whatever you want here, and with Anarchy, we can place these objects almost anywhere and arrange them the way we like. That is what I really enjoy about this kind of detailing. It gives us a lot of freedom, and we can build the space exactly the way we imagine it. All right, now let's continue building our residential district. We already worked on the first details, cleaned up the area, and added a few small touches. Now it is time to keep placing buildings and slowly shape this neighborhood into a proper part of Romsey. Again, I'm using Move It here to rotate the building slightly. Since this alley is not perfectly straight and has a bit of a curve, the building should follow that shape too. So instead of placing it flat, I'm turning it just a little. That small angle helps it sit much better along the alley. I think I'm going to use a fence. It will give this little spot a bit of privacy, almost like a small private yard. It also helps hide this uneven part of the ground and makes the slope look less awkward. You can find fences in the props menu. I usually go into the industrial category and look for them there. To make the fence nice and straight, I'm using line mode. This way, each piece connects to the next one, instead of placing every part by hand. It is much faster, and the result looks a lot cleaner. Now we need to create a corner building here, and actually we can do it pretty easily. I'm using the same buildings, and with Move It, I simply push them closer together until the edges touch. This way we can create our own corner instead of searching for one perfect corner asset. You can see how the buildings connect here. In my opinion, it almost looks like one solid building. And honestly, I think it works really well in this spot. So we already built a small alley here. And honestly, I think it looks pretty cool. Now, one important thing I always do when I build like this, click on the building and open its menu. In that menu, look for the historical building option and make sure you check it. This is very important. If you do not mark the building as historical, the game can upgrade it later or replace it with something else. And then the whole design you created can fall apart. The shape, the corner, the colors, the layout, everything can change. So if you spend time placing buildings by hand and adjusting them with Move It, always remember to lock them as historical building. That way, the building stays exactly the way you placed it. When you click on a building, this information panel opens. Here you can see the building details, residents, and other basic info. This is also where you mark it as a historical building and change its colors. And now we get to the most interesting part. The reason I did not release episode 2 earlier is because I had a technical problem while recording. At some point, the video recording stopped, but I did not know it. So I kept building, thinking everything was still being recorded. And yes, that was painful. So what am I going to do now? I'm going to delete everything I built after that moment, and we are going to build it again together. Honestly, maybe that is even better. This way you will see the whole process from the beginning, and nothing important will be missing. Alright, now let's continue building. We are going to create another small alley here, connecting these two larger avenues. It gives the district another way through and helps this part of the city feel a little more connected. And we also need to bring back the police station because, crime can get a little out of control if we ignore it. And we definitely do not want that in Romsey. And here we are doing the same thing we did earlier. We remove the left turns, take out the crosswalks, and turn off the traffic light. This keeps the junction cleaner and helps traffic move through this little alley without creating a mess. I think most of you already know about building upgrades. When you click on a building and open its menu, you can see the upgrade tab there. And right now, we actually have enough money to upgrade this building. So I'm going to do it right away. I do not really like this fence here. It does not fit the spot the way I want it. So I'm going to remove it with the jackhammer tool. Now we just choose a texture to make our police station look more realistic. These are tree grate decals. I will also include them in the description later when I make the full list. Sorry, my cat distracted me for a moment. You may notice that I keep using the same tree. I do not know why, but I just like this one the most. To me, it looks more convincing than the others. If I find better trees later, of course I will use them too. On the streets of big cities, you can often find vending machines for snacks or drinks. You also see those newspaper boxes with free papers inside. I think we should add a few of those here. I think we need to come up with some kind of barrier for this spot. Let's see what we can do here. I'm going to choose a fence and build it out from there. Maybe that will help define the space a little better. And I always add flowers. Just a small detail, but it looks nice. Right now, I'm just playing around with different buildings. I'm testing what could fit here and what does not work. Maybe I'll rotate something, move it a little, try another option, and see how it looks. Sometimes it works, sometimes it does not. But that is fine. This is just part of the process. Honestly, I'm not sure about this building. I do not really like how it looks in this spot. The building on the corner of this alley is not something I want to leave with just a blank wall. I want to come up with something for this spot. And you know what? I think I already have an idea. I'm going to try a few options first, but I do have something in mind. What do you think? I think it looks okay. Let's add a small service alley between the buildings. Here, I'm going to add some flower boxes and see how they look. And look what I'm doing here. I'm using line mode again. Basically the same trick we used with the fences, we can use here too. It helps place each piece in a clean line instead of doing everything one by one. Now let me show you one more thing. We open the search tool, the magnifying glass, and go into the specialized props. Here, I'm going to take an air conditioner and place it on the ground first. Then I select it with Move It and press Page Up on the keyboard. This lets us raise the object and place it on the wall. And once it is there, it stays in place. Let's do it one more time so you can see it again. Now we're going to do something like this. We open the search again, go into the details section, and look for commercial props. There you can find different storefront pieces and front-facing shop elements. I'm going to place one of them directly on the wall. This way it looks like we created an entrance to the building. I think we'll leave it like this. Right now, I'm looking for something that could work as steps. And this is another moment where you can just use your imagination. You can take almost any object and try placing it in a different way. Today, I'll show you this more than once. Sometimes the best details come from using things not exactly the way they were meant to be used. So I just took these pieces, placed them down, and started moving them with Move It. And again, we're adding a few small details. Here I'm using the tree grate texture, and next to the commercial area, I want to add something that looks nice and fits the space. Now, let's continue building. Now I have this idea to create something like a full building block. I want it to work from both sides with an entrance in the front and another entrance in the back. So it doesn't feel like the building only faces one street. It feels connected from both directions. With the jackhammer tool, we remove everything we do not need. Let's create a small plaza here. I'm thinking about adding a sports park here, but it is locked right now. So we open the City Progress menu, go to Parks, unlock Park Maintenance first, and then use our points to unlock the sports park. But yeah, we did not end up using them here because they are too big. That is okay, we will use them later. I came up with something else. We're going to make a parking area here, using an underground parking asset. And yes, this underground parking will also be included later in my list of mods and assets. Yeah, I think the underground parking looks pretty cool here. I like it. Oh, cars are already driving into the parking garage. It works. Let's create a small alley here. Actually, maybe it is not really an alley. Well, yes, I think it is probably an alley. Now we connect everything with pedestrian paths, so our peoples can walk around this whole area. Here, we'll add a few small parks to make the district more attractive. Let's make these buildings match each other. We'll also check that they are marked as historical buildings. And here you can see how it works after the update. When you click on a building, the Building Information panel opens with two tabs. The first tab shows the basic building information. The second tab is where you can change the color and mark the building as historical. And again, if I don't like something, I remove it and try something new. Right? Exactly. Here, let's try placing the buildings like steps. One building will sit slightly behind the other. It will create a different shape and give this corner something new. Now we're adding some decals to give the alley that old, worn-out asphalt look. I think we already know how to make a fence by now. I like how these buildings look here. I think this is probably the right spot for them. Now let's make this little alley side space a bit cozier. Did you notice what we did here? We added a security camera to the building and placed a vending machine for drinks and snacks. Now I want to place part of a gazebo here, almost like a small covered seating area next to the building. And again, with Move It, we can move it around and place it exactly where we want. I think this will make the space feel a lot cozier for the residents of this building. Now I have another idea. I want to add a few small parking spots here for scooters and motorcycles. I just typed parking into the search. Now we are looking through the parking decals, so we can simply place one on top of the surface. Now we can search for them the same way. You can also open the Vehicles tab and look through the available motorcycles and scooters. Here, we'll build a greenhouse. I have one more idea, and I'm going to show it to you. We take this construction booth and place it on the roof. That way it works like a rooftop access point. Now, we're looking for a pool that fits this spot. To move objects around, we use Move It, and to raise or lower them, we use Page Up and Page Down on the keyboard. Now let's just add some decorations for our terrace. So, what do you think? Do you like it? I think this looks really cool. A rooftop terrace that we built ourselves. Let's adding decals to the road surface. A little dirt, a few cracks, just to give the street a more worn and believable look. here in the alley, let's add those vending machines again, along with the free newspaper boxes. I also want to create a small divider in this spot. And by now, I think we already know how to build a fence. So let's go ahead and do it. Well, my friends, honestly, this episode has been the hardest one for me so far. I don't even know how to explain it. There were technical problems, lost footage, delays, and honestly moments where I thought, okay, maybe this episode is cursed. But I still wanted to finish it because this district is important for Romsey, and I really wanted to share the whole process with you. So here's what we are going to do. This will be episode 2, part 1. And tomorrow, I promise, episode 2, part 2 will be released, and we will finish this whole district together. The full video was getting close to an hour, and I felt like that might be too much for one episode. So I think splitting it into 2 parts is the better choice. And if you are still watching at this point, thank you. Seriously, thank you so much for spending this time with me. It really means a lot. And this is the little section we built today. Let's take a look at it. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you did not enjoy it, well, then do not leave a like. Thank you so much for watching, my friends. I'll see you in the next episode.